When I met Edna Sadberry, she said, "Ed, I see you, and I've been waiting for you." As a black man, as a black leader, it is important to be seen and understood. Edna is that for me. Edna Sadberry is a force, a friend, and a presence. My pleasure to introduce to you Edna Sadberry.
Zorn, back up. Oh, hello, everyone. A little nervous now after that. I didn't know what he was going to say, and it just dropped my heart a few, so I have to pull my energy back. My name is Edna Sadberry, and I'm an independent contractor. I have a background in clinical psychology, and I pair that background with racial equity work. You won't find me on Facebook. You won't find me on Instagram or any other social media. I operate through referrals. I prefer to do that because what I do is not for the faint of heart. I have an expectation that is above what usually DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion work is about. So my expectations are high. I hold myself to that high standard and also the folks that I work with. And the theme of this year's Bikecitement is about the dream world. And I came to BikeWorks with a dream to elevate the race conversations by asking folks to lean in and get curious about the narrative they create when they're uncomfortable in these conversations. I know that's a big ask. Yeah, it's a big ask. Ooh, that sounded weird. Wow, I promise I'm not cussing. It's an invitation to move past that surface level conversation, to move past fears, defensiveness, anger, and frustration into a soul-searching, transformative conversation. And to do that, we have to be honest about our own personal biases and our fears. Traditionally, some fears that come about that I've heard during trainings and things, during these race conversations, is that I don't know what to say. Okay? I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to offend anyone. So I'm going to sit back and just listen. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't feel safe. That's the biggest one I hear. I don't feel safe. I'm not a racist. I have lots of BIPOC friends. I'm married to a person of color. I have biracial children. I hear all of these things as a defense for not going deeper into this conversation. Now, when I hear people say these things, because of my clinical background, I hear something else. What I hear when people put these defenses up is that I don't care about you to put myself through the process of examining my own racist practices. That sounds harsh, but it's true. What I hear is I will tap out when my feelings get too big and cause me to feel uncomfortable. So when I'm uncomfortable, I'm tapping out. That's where the growth begins. And I don't want, the other thing I hear when folks give me those defensive statements is that I don't want a real relationship with you. I don't want an honest relationship with you, because if I had to address my biases, I might have to change. I'm afraid that if I have to change, I will lose the privileges that I've enjoyed. And I'm going to say the privileges of whiteness. I'm just going to say it. If I dig deep into the root of my fears and my biases, I might have to change. And I really don't want to do that, because then I might lose something. Well, one of the things I said to Ed and Jess when they invited me to BikeWorks to do this work, one of the things I said to them was, I don't want to do another training that focuses on race. Race ain't the issue. It's about humanity. I'm on a mission to take race out of the conversation. And I know that might sound a little different. Of course it is. Because we've been trying to build a different house with the same tools that we built racism with. And that's not going to work. The same tools of fear and separation and anger and resentment, we can't build a different house with those things. And we have to get clear about those things in us. We all have it. We've all been in the soup of race, in this racial soup all of our lives. So we have to get clear about what it is we want. And if you don't want to have that conversation, that's fine. That's fine. Step aside. Honestly, step aside. Okay. How are we going to have this generative conversation? How are we going to have a conversation about transformation if we're too afraid to be in the conversation? It doesn't work. We conveniently believe that racist systems are outside of our personal influence and our personal control. I'm here to say we're the system that we're complaining about. We're that system because we hold on to our fears without examining them. We don't speak up, or we're speaking from an angry place without examining the roots of that anger. Some of us leverage other intersectionalities without understanding that the ability to leverage such intersectionalities comes from a place of privilege and entitlement. We don't all have that access to leverage other intersectionalities, because wherever I go, I'm black, and that's the first thing you're going to see. Sometimes we're dismissive, and sometimes we get in the way of progress by holding on to anti-black biases. We don't feel like we have to examine that. And it's across the board. The language of racial justice needs to change. This is not about race. This is about who we value and who we don't value. This is about who matters and who we think doesn't matter. And before I switch gears, I'm going to talk about the work I did with Martha. I partnered with Martha because as a black woman talking like I'm talking up here, easy to get canceled. Very easy. Very easy to be dismissed and say, well, that's not my experience. We're not being honest with each other. And Martha and I had to fashion a definition about humanity because there was no place. We couldn't find a definition anywhere. So the definition that Martha and I fashioned was humanity is choosing to fight our conditioning with the commitment to relate to every single person as a human being. Racism, racist practices, biases, fears, all of that's a choice. And those choices keep us comfortable. And I'm not going to stand here and pretend that not everyone in this room has been touched by racism. I'm not going to pretend that anymore. I'm not going to coddle. I'm not going to pat you on the head. I'm not going to pretend. We need to have some honest conversations. So I'm going to switch to my story about the bike now, because I know that's kind of heavy, and I'm up here sweating already. It's hard, it's difficult, it's challenging to ask people to take themselves seriously, to take transforming themselves seriously. It's hard because you get comfortable in your ignorance. You get really comfortable. And it's not beneficial to any of us when that happens. Okay. Now, my story about my dream bike. There were 4 of us, 4 children, and we all shared one bike. We had a bike because my oldest brother was the best paper boy in the city, and that was the prize. He won a 10-speed. And what folks don't know was my mother, a single parent, was up every morning with him at 4 a.m., helping him wrap and put the papers in the bag that he carried. He's bow-legged now because of that bag was so heavy. He was 12 years old, which meant I was 5. And on the weekends, my 5-year-old self and my 4-year-old little brother helped out. We all helped him get that bike. We knew the importance of it. And the bike represented a freedom we had never known. We were able to explore the city and have wonderful adventures that would have been missed without that bike. You might be curious as to how the 4 of us shared a bike. Got you. There was one on the back, there was one pedaling, I was on the handlebar, on the crossbar, and my youngest brother was on the handlebars, and we rode that bike. Okay. My dream is to ride, I want a red 3-wheel. Yes, I want a 3-wheel bike. I've seen the way Seattle traffic is. I want a 3-wheel bike. I'll be riding that bike in the future where anyone from 2 to 102 can have access to a bike with the freedom to explore and dream bigger than where they started. Okay. That's all I got for you, but I'd like to thank BikeWorks for giving me the opportunity to share my dream and my vision, for supporting Martha and I in bringing something different to the table than the traditional diversity, equity, and inclusion. And some folks added a B onto that, belonging. Diversity, equity, we have so many acronyms that don't say anything about the work we actually need to do. This is a personal journey, and each of us have to do our personal work. And then come to the table and let's talk about community. Because if you're not doing your personal work in your circle of influence, don't come to a session and talk about how woke you are. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You have to do your personal work. That's all I got. I'd like to thank you for your time and your listening. Thank you.